And welcome back, guys, to another episode of Katawa Shoujo. In the last part, time has passed. We finished our exams, and Lily's, I guess, testing or showing us what it feels like to be blind. And she's sort of playing around with us a little bit, but hell, why the hell not, right? I guess she's made her point. She's more than capable of navigating her room, and further, I've seen how independent she is even when compared to many of the others in Yumako. Well, if this is just a game, I may as well play it wholeheartedly. With a pace much quicker than before, I moved toward the source of her voice, deftly sidestepping the table in the center of her room thanks to remembering its position. I've got you now. She gives an impish giggle, one just long enough to work out that she's passing just beside me. I quickly turn around to face the new The table wasn't there before. Ow! Ow! I slowly sit up next to the table, raising my blindfold as I rub my aching head. I give an irritated kick to the table that's sitting just in front of where I fell. Utterly pointless, but the thing deserved it. Hisao? Lily's still standing just to my side, obviously unsure of what befell me. Sorry, kind of fell over. Are you hurt? My head hurts, but I think I'm okay. I think the table moved in order to trip me over. She giggles as she walks over and takes a seat beside me, her hand resting on my own. I suppose that's the end of that, then. I think so. But I also think I get the point, though I do wish it hadn't involved such a headache. Lily suddenly looks blank. Point? And I return to an extraordinarily flat look. That was just for fun? I just thought it might ease you up a little about the subject. You always seem to tiptoe around it after all. In regards to teaching, sight isn't that important. There are plenty of classes taught by entirely blind teachers, and more than enough resources for me to learn the subject. It's as simple as that, really. I slump my shoulders and give a snort of amusement. Yeah, I understand. I guess we'll both just have to work hard to reach our goals then. What is it? Oh god, the music stopped. I think they're gonna do it again. And this time, it's gonna be with blindfolds. Because why not do some kinky stuff? With a little hesitation, Lily pushes forward her chin and closes her eyes in an unmistakable gesture. Yep, yeah, now they're making out again. I accept gladly, our lips touching. As they do, I suddenly feel her hand shaking up my chest from underneath my shirt. A feeling of her hand against my bare skin is enough to make my heart suddenly accelerate. That's not good. So, she's in that kind of mood again. Well, I'm hardly one to complain. She does genuinely like this. Even with all my medications, my libido is thankfully still intact. Then you just like high five, might guy, teeth twinkle, thumbs up. Wow. I lean in to kiss further, holding her hand tightly as I feel it tracing the contours of my chest. Eventually, we break off from one another, the room silent, but for our breathing. Hey, Hisao? Yeah? I don't suppose you could wear the blindfold again? Her tentative suggestion takes me by surprise. I suppose she wants to introduce me to sex through her eyes as well, or just wants to find out what I'll be like during the act while hampered by the blindfold. With a measure of unease tempered by curiosity, I do as she says and lower the blindfold over my eyes. The world becomes dark once again. Hey, does this mean I don't have to censor things? Because that'd be great. That requires so much less editing. I reflexively tense as I feel Lily's hand gently brush the side of my face, entirely unable to anticipate her touch. I really need to get more used to contact like this. Even after the weeks we've been going out, it isn't as natural for me as it is for her. Silence? Hey, Lily? Shh. I obediently follow her instruction and quietly listen, trying to make out something, anything that's happening around me. Compared to before, when I was chasing Lily, the need to carefully navigate the room's obstacles is now gone. I can take my time and concentrate much harder on listening. It takes a while, but I can eventually pick out the soft sounds of her breathing in the otherwise dead silent room. In, out, measuring it against my own breathing. I realize it's definitely deeper than normal, especially for her. Another sound makes its way to my eyes, one that I can't identify immediately. I don't think I've ever heard it before, but my heart skips a beat as I realize the source, my hand almost reflexively reaching out towards it. Her face feels softer than usual under my touch, her head just barely turning in acknowledgement towards the fingers of her cheek. Hisao. I gulp and take a moment and try and calm down. I need all the concentration I can muster while I'm like this in order to fully take in my surroundings. After a few deep breaths, I think I've managed to collect myself. With a touch so light that it wouldn't disturb a feather, I start to move my hand down her body. I can feel myself losing focus again, thanks to those thin silken pajamas of hers resting so perfectly over the curves of her body. If she's like this, then that means she has to be sitting against her bed and facing me. Now, to continue. Alright, this must be her hip. If I just move slowly downward, Lily's breath catches as my hand comes over hers, tentatively following her fingers between her legs and losing them as they go underneath her underwear. Oh my. Oh dear. It sounds so steamy, but we can't see it. Thank goodness! My word! Just the slightest moisture touches my fingertips, but it's enough to easily work out what she's doing. My mind suddenly fills with visions of what she must be like in front of me right now. I'd never even imagined her doing this before, and being unable to see her doing the act only enhances the mood. Ah, dude, that's not how we're supposed to do this. I don't want to have to fucking edit this. Bad, Hisao. Bad. I work the blindfold upwards, brushing out my eyes a couple of hairs that were stuck to the ribbon before. For a period of time I can guess at. My mind goes completely blank. As I can do it is stare at my newly freed eyes, take in everything in front of me. Yeah, she's rubbing herself. That's great. Just as I'd worked out, Lily's sitting in front of me, with one hand on the ground to steady herself and the other fingering lightly, brushing between her legs, hidden by her dark blue underwear. I think it's the most erotic sight I've ever seen. Once again, I reach out to brush her hair from her face, her chin tilting outward as she feels her pleasure-wrapped body with another breath of air. Lily looks oddly cute as she smiles at my calling of her name. It always seems like it's at the moments when she's least attentive that she lets her most interesting emotions slip out. It's not long before she works her fingers over herself faster than before, her excitement evidently rising. The scent of her sweat in the air only echoes that fact. I sit in front of her. It's hardly as if my own arousal holding still. It's taking every fiber of my being to let her continue by herself instead of pushing myself onto her. It's strange. I'd initially found her clouded blue eyes to be distracting, almost disturbing in their lack of focus. That bothers me far less than it used to now. My attention refocused on her as she lets out a whimper, her breath coming much faster than before, and her hips subtly rocking. No sooner do I realize how close to the edge Lily's become that her breath catches, her eyes clasp shut, as every muscle in her body seems to contract, and she unmistakably reaches her climax. For only a scant few seconds she tightens, huddled in ecstasy before her body relaxes, and a long, drained sigh comes to her lips. I just have no idea what to say. Silence reigns while I simply watch her. hair hanging over her face as she sits exhausted. Hisao? When she reaches out to brush my face, my urges take complete control of my body. Without so much as a second thought, I push myself over her frame. It's an unusual feeling, being like this. I feel oddly powerful, holding myself above her blank face, as though for the first time since the accident so long ago, I feel physically strong. Lily, I want you. To my surprise, she smiles weakly before reaching upwards to feel the sides of my face. It's an almost cheeky expression, of the kind which she usually gives only after getting something out of me. You want me to do this? Wait, you want me to do this? Wait, shit. That was the wrong voice for that. That was actually Hisao, if you guys have averted your eyes. She holds her smile and gives a silent nod. I guess it was an effective way to make me take the initiative for once. And again, to my surprise, she gives the ribbon still around my head a sharp tug downwards. Once again, I'm lost in complete blackness. I told you to keep it on, didn't I? A teasing edge to Lily's voice, punctuated by her breath. She never seems to lose her ability to take control of a situation. But this one time... Hisao, what are you... I slide my hands underneath her soft silk and skin pressing into my hands as I gently raise her body with a measure of difficulty. While I wouldn't describe her as heavy, her height makes her more than a handful to try and lift. It only takes a couple of carefully placed steps to feel the edge of her bed against my legs, my lowering of Lily onto her sheets just as gentle as I raised her. Your bed will be more comfortable than the floor, right? Always the gentleman, aren't you? I quickly run my hands down Lily's long, shapely legs. They are alluring, far from diminished without the luxury of sight, and pull off her pajama shorts and underwear from her ankle. Oh my, I have no idea where those just went. Damn. This is actually, to be fair, this one's actually more hot and bothering than the other ones, to be perfectly square. Well, I guess that doesn't matter. They'll be somewhere around. With a minimum of fuss, I shuffle down my own pajama trousers and underwear, positioning myself between her legs, or at least where I think is in between her legs. Is this not going to be surprise butt sex crap? Is this not going to go that way? No one likes surprise butt sex. With one hand on her bed to steady myself, my right moves tentatively downwards. Whoops. My first contact with her is my palm clumsily beating the front of her nose. She giggles a little before turning her head sideways. Taking my cue, I gently cradle her neck and use my thumb to feel the contours of her face, as she so often does with me. This would be a lot easier if she wasn't moving her face into my hand, but the feeling of her nuzzling into it is nice. I swallow and try to steady myself. Take my other hand from the bed and use it to guide myself into her. As soon as I feel her warmth around me, I quickly realize just how turned on I am. With my sight gone, I'm free to concentrate far more on other senses, including tactile feeling. The entire experience feels more vivid, more intense than it's been before. I slowly start to move my hips back and forth, my heart beating wildly in excitement. I feel Lily's eyes clenching shut. The movement of her cheek under my thumb reminds me of the gentle hold I have on the side of her head. It's hard to stop myself from being completely overwhelmed. It's hard to think that this is what sex is usually like for her, experienced through every sense but the one I hold dearest. From her cheek to her neck, I begin to slide my hand downwards to take the feeling of her body. The contours of her collarbone, the light dew resting on her skin. My sense of smell is stimulated by the scent of her sweat and mine hanging in the air. Even the ambient smell, noticeably different from that of my own room, adds to the feeling. When I move my hand to her supple breast, her soft mewling fills my ears, along with the sound of our act. The skin... It's so weird because because I don't have the vision of it. Reading it is actually like, it makes me feel weird, more so than what I was reading before. That's so strange. Whoever wrote that's a really good job. They're just making it seem more erotic in this like weird, like non-visual type of way. The skin under my hand moves back and forth with each thrust, my grip on it tightening as my lust for the near naked body of Lily before me grows. I can even feel her small nipple against my palm, my hands sliding further and my fingers plucking it through the thin silk of her pajamas. Her whimpering sounds turn to moans as she feels with the same pleasure as I. I can feel my heart beating loudly in my chest and her own beating underneath my hand. I can feel her hand clasp my wrists while grip surprisingly tightens as her chest rises to the overwhelming pleasure. More. I want more. And my heart. I can feel my chest tightening as I rock back and forth frantically, both of us entirely taken with ourselves. No, this ain't good. Nothing that unusual. I just need to take deep breaths to steady myself. This feeling is just normal. No, it's not. This isn't. I can't. This pain is too much. Ah! I stumble backwards from Lily with unseemly haste, clumsily hitting the back of my foot against the table and falling to the ground with an unceremonious crash. Breathing wildly, I frankly scrap at the ribbon over my eyes as I lay on my back. I have to get this off. For a moment, everything goes blank as the rush of newfound light assaults my eyes. My breathing slows from the brink of hyperventilation. Yeah, that ain't good, dude. Seconds pass, and I carefully measure out the rhythm of my heartbeats with every ounce of concentration I can muster. My heart is normal. It's back to normal. My body feels utterly bizarre as I lay dazed on the floor looking at the ceiling. The adrenaline from before is still pouring through my veins, but my mind is completely exhausted. I prop myself up as I hear Lily get off the bed and coming towards me. Hisao, are you okay? Hisao? I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. She gives a sigh of relief. Her worry expression collapsing. Her face afterward is the very last I'd ever want to see from her. It's a face I detested when I first saw my parents in the hospital those months ago. Pity. Lily pities me. No, that's not it. Don't use the word pity. It's about being concerned. Oh god, yeah, no, we're heading into dumb main character scenario. I just close my eyes and turn away, powerless. I feel like throwing up. I can hear the sounds of Lily moving away and quickly attending to herself, the ruffling of her clothing being pulled back on after a moment of searching just barely audible. Sorry. She slowly shakes her head as she finishes buttoning up her top. Her kind smile looks so fragile, so delicate, that it makes my heart sink. Approaching carefully, she feels out the edge of the low table before taking a seat next to me, putting her arm around my chest. I'm sorry, Hisao. I shouldn't have pushed my desires onto you. You don't need to apologize. I'd normally be fine. You've seen that much before. I guess I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. My eyelids feel heavy. Calmingly sitting next to her like this is probably letting the adrenaline work itself out of my system and letting my mind relax. So that's why you never took the lead? Yeah, I guess it's a good thing you like to, huh? The joke seems to lighten her expression a little, a fact which helps let me feel less uneasy about my unreliable self. Lily's head comes to rest on my shoulder as I struggle to keep my eyes open. With more difficulty after each blink, I feel completely drained. It's okay, Hisao. It's all okay. No sooner does she say this than a small, quiet tune escapes her lips. Entirely too tired to think, all I can do is listen to her soft humming. It's a soft, almost melancholic tune. It sounds familiar, but the more I try to remember its origin, the less I seem to be able to concentrate. Now, obviously, he's in a completely different thing, but it's the tune from the music box that we gave her. I remember. I remember that. The feelings and scent of her head gently resting on my shoulder and her warm body against my side are soothing. The soft humming of her voice, too, relaxing my mind as much as her warmth relaxes my muscles. A singular, quiet moment after all this fracas. Yeah, I remember it's fracas. Even though, like, you'd think you'd spell it with a U, it's spelled with an A. It makes me realize just how exhausted I've become. I can feel my eyelids slowly becoming heavier and heavier. Even with the chaos of before, I wish this moment would last forever. Lily and I together, sharing a single solitary occasion together, just as we used to. But if that's the case, why does she feel further away than she's ever felt before? Stranger. So strange. What could be happening? I guess we will find out next time. So take care, guys, and stay frosty.